Okay, I do believe we are live. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another Sunday morning live stream. It's going to be a super casual stream today. We're going to be working on an old school 1990s style drum and bass set in the Akai force. We started building this set a couple of weeks ago on a live stream. There's a link to that stream in the description of this video. I'll also put a link up here if you're catching this on the replay and you want to check out how we got started in real time. I wasn't sure what we were going to do with what we were creating a couple of weeks ago, but I've decided to turn it into a full 20-minute old school 1990s freestyle drum and bass style set, a full 20-minute set. This is going to be for my performance for an online music festival at the end of December, which is called Clownfest 7. It's put on by my good friend Mark, the Acid Clown Gardner. And the reason that I want to do this live today is that most people don't necessarily work on like a full set, live in real time. It's kind of giving away the goods, if you know what I mean. Like the set itself isn't going to be much of a surprise as I'm working on it here. But I figured that's exactly why we should give this a go because I haven't done this before. And this has been a really fun set to start building. I don't see anyone in the chat yet. If anyone is in the chat, can let me know that the audio is coming through clean. I'd really appreciate that. Okay, so what we did when we started building this is the intention is to really just utilize some of these older boxes from the 90s. We're utilizing the Korg EMX1. We're utilizing the Quasi MIDI Raven synthesizer and groove box. Hey, what's happening? We got Hitachoris in the Hitacharis in the chat. Sorry about butchering your name there. What's happening, Sai? We're working with the Quasi MIDI Sirius groove box and drum machine, and we're also getting a lot of sounds out of this vintage Quasi MIDI Revolution 309. Now, one of the reasons that I'm using these quasi MIDI boxes to build this set is they have a feature in them where you can literally just randomize and shuffle the grooves that all three of these boxes are playing, the Sirius, the Raven, and the Revolution. And they come with a lot of pre-built, patterns inside of them that sound gloriously 90s, if you know what I mean. So we're basically taking our time going through this, super casually and super creatively. I'm not trying necessarily to like get this finished or anything like that. I'm right about somewhere between 8 and 10 minutes finished of the set currently. We're going to start today. I'm going to play you what I've got in its entirety in the set, and then we're just going to start working on it. I've got a lot of notes for stuff that we can try to work on today, but it's going to be a really casual session. I don't have like a specific goal in mind. If we get, a minute or two, done on this set, that would be awesome. We spent about, I don't know, 3.5 or 4 hours starting this the other 2 weekends ago. Since then, I've put in quite a bit of time on my own to what is here. All right. Hey, Tovolution, thanks for tuning in. We got Warm Winter Productions in the chat. Thanks for tuning in, you guys. All right, we're going to go ahead and just play for you what I've got currently built up, and then we're going to go ahead and work on that. So tuck in, grab yourself a cup of coffee. It's going to be like 8 to 10 minutes of old school drum and bass, and it's going to get loud starting, I don't know, about, let's see here, starting about now. Just let me know in the chat if I need to adjust any of these levels. We've got an overhead shot today of the Akai forest, so we can kind of see what we're working on this time. solo.
It's super cool. It's super cool. It's super cool.
Step up at the place, you know we hot like fire. Some of them are top, but them hot like pepper. We blaze it, bring the lava. Them a try this, the father. Listen them, yeah, you is it, Saya. Girl come away because them want this harder. Them know the demon are the best welder. So show your lion power if you watch your Rasta. Show Rasta. Show Rasta.
It's super cool.
Step up at the place, you know we hot like fire. Some of them are top, but them hot like pepper. We blaze it, bring the lava. Them a try this, the father. Listen them, yeah, you is it, Saya. Girl come away because they want this harder. Them know the demon are the best welder. So show your lion power if you watch your Rasta. Show Rasta. Rasta.
is where we come to. This is as far as I've gotten in this set right here. And this is where we're going to start the set today. All right. I hope the audio is coming through loud and clear. Hey, thanks, Matt. Thanks for tuning in, Grant. What's happening, Fade Man? All right. What's happening, BJ? What's happening, PK? What's happening, Warm Winter Productions? All right. Hey, Toballusion. So, basically, you know, my intention with this set is that I'm trying to create it kind of like an old school 1990s like drum and bass DJ who's sort of, you know, maybe spinning vinyl and switching records and going back and forth between different grooves and just kind of trying to keep the party going. I'm not trying to like work on like a song per se, really the opposite of that. I'm trying to get an idea going, let it go for a short amount of time, and then move on to another idea so that we're constantly kind of doing this for a good, you know, just 20 minutes of freestyle old school drum and bass. We already had a question in the chat, which was can I explain a bit of the MIDI routing? And this is actually really easy because we're only hearing the Akai force today. I've got a MIDI out of the Akai force going into a little MIDI through box where we can plug one MIDI in and get 4 MIDIs out. And those are going to the Electribe, to the Raven, to the Sirius, and to the Revolution. So that when I do press play on the force, that these 4 boxes start up and are syncing, but we're only just sampling everything into the force. We're not using any external instruments as external instruments. We're just recording everything into the force. Let me take a sip of water and catch my breath here. And what that means is that it's really easy to like play back the set at any time without me having to have all the rest of the gear out. In fact, I can literally, you know, just take the force and walk out with it. And everything is in here. I'm not trying to create an interactable set that I can, you know, make a lot of changes with. I'm literally just trying to program in its entirety all of the things that are going to happen. And all I'm doing is just changing to the next scene of clips in time inside of the force. So even though we are MIDI'd up to the other devices, we're not really using them in real time. We're just using the inbuilt patterns and sounds to sample into the force. Now, the first, I don't usually make a backup of my projects in the force, and I've never had a problem where like I've lost a project, but this is quite a bit, you know, longer than just your average song, and there's been quite a bit more work put into this project, and it's for a, you know, a show that is yet to happen. So if anything were to go wrong, I'd be up a creek without a paddle, if you get my drift. So the very first thing we're going to do today is we're going to back up the project onto a separate thumb drive. Okay. So all I need to do is hit the save, and then we can do save project as. I can save it on to this thumb drive here, and it's going to go ahead and embed all of the samples and the full project as a backup onto the thumb drive. That way, if anything, you know, were to go sideways from this point on, I've got a backup where we're at now. Okay, let's see here. So we sampled quite a bit of material out of these retro boxes. That's another thing that I want to discuss and express today. I'm not trying to write material from scratch for this particular set. I'm more curating what's existing in these boxes. The Quasi MIDI Raven, one of the features of it is that it has, you know, it's a drum machine and a 3-part synthesizer. It's got a kick drum track, a snare drum track, a hi-hat track, a percussion track. Then we have a bass track, a sequence 1 track, a sequence 2 track, and a track for like poly sounds, like chords and whatnot. each of those different parts in the Raven, for example, has 400 different patterns already programmed into the synthesizer for us to use. So there's already 400, melodic sequences in the Raven. There's 400 chord patterns, there's 400 kick patterns, 400 snare drum patterns, etc. So that's what we're doing today, is we're using the power of randomization and creativity, and we're just randomizing things on these boxes and picking little parts from the individual boxes. I'm not trying to use my own sounds. I'm not trying to write stuff from scratch, really. This set particularly for me is more of a celebration of this gear and sort of like the 1990s, cavalier freewheeling attitude of making music. We didn't have near as many sub genres back then, and we weren't trying to make real specific neuro drum and bass, or liquid drum and bass. It was more just drum and bass. Same thing with electronic music. Back then it was just pretty much all electronic music was just electronica, you know what I mean? One big section. So we're not really worried about subgenres. We're just trying to keep the interest in the set and really keep the ebb and the flow of, these patterns, keeping the listener's interest the whole way through. Okay, so we've got the backup finished. I'm now going to go into the menu and eject this extra thumb drive here, so I can just put this out of the way. Okay, fantastic. Oh, right, okay. I have quite a bit of notes for what I'd like to work on today, but because this is sort of a random setup, it may or may not, be a really productive session today. What we're going to do is we're going to start by on the scene that we are currently up to in this set, which is here. What I'd like to do is the bass here is the exact same bass line as the couple of scenes before this. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to go ahead and resample this bass line. What I've been doing is I've been basically just putting individual samples all over these pads. I'm trying to keep this as an 8-track session so that it's easier to work with, and I'm just utilizing, being able to put all of these samples across the pads. Basically, each of these tracks is just a drum sampler, so I can just load as many individual samples as I can. I'm not using the internal synthesizers or internal drum machines or internal built-in sounds of any kind so far. We're just, sampling and loading drum loops and whatnot. So what let's do is if I play the scene that we're on now and I solo the bass. Fantastic. If we go to the menu and I go to the sampler and turn this on so we can hear what we're doing, and I go over and change the input of the sampler, not to our external inputs, but just to resample the left and right inputs, we should be able to resample this bass line now to a brand new sample that I can affect individually. Let's try that. Should be enough. And I'm not going to assign this to any pad at this time. And we're going to go ahead and label this. This is a bass, bass, resample, resample, and let's just call this, I don't know, 11A, because I may have resampled some bass already. I've got quite a bit of samples here, as you can see, filling up the pads. So we're going to go ahead and give that a name, and we're going to keep that sample. Now, if I go into the sample editor, we should be able to find our bass resample 11A. There it is. And I can go ahead and get right in on the downbeat there. Use these little knobs to zoom right in. That looks pretty good right there. And then I'm just going to go ahead and start trimming this out for us. And let's see here. That'll probably be good. Let's see if we can give a little bit more volume on that sample, though. So let's go to the gain change and bring this up by 3 decibels. Cool. And then let's go ahead and assign this to an empty pad. on the bass track. Currently, I've got, all these, sounds here. Some of them are loops. Some of them are. So I've got lots of, different pads that are, housing the samples that are making up our bass parts at this time. So we're going to go ahead and assign it to an empty pad here. Let's see here, just looking for bass resample. Got a lot of samples in this session, so it can get a little bit confusing now when I'm trying to assign these samples. And let's go ahead and right off the jump, go to the edit here and make it so that this is a note on, so that it only, it only plays when I hold it down. And what I want to do is I just want to put a filter on this sound. I want to low pass it a little bit so that it'll give more room in the frequency spectrum for us to add some higher melodic content in this part. So we're going to go ahead and filter this down a little bit. Let's start with that to start with. And if I go into the clip here, this is currently our bass pattern. It's just made up of a bunch of, one shots that I programmed in. Now we've, resampled that. So I can actually just delete that clip from our session. We can add in a new clip at this time. And I can go ahead and just give that clip a name, actually. We can call this bass, and I'm low passing it. So bass low pass resample. I'm going to check in with the chat in just a minute and make sure I'm not missing any important questions, you guys. So hang with me there. And it's going to find out where, which pad this is on. Looks like it's this one here. So now we can go ahead and put this in and tell it to hold for tell it to hold for 4 bars. Cool, and then we can just shift and duplicate and get that to hold for another 4 bars. Now I just want to maybe go back and forth between the scenes here and make sure that our resample is the appropriate volume in the mix, best we can with headphones, Let me unsolo this track rather. Cool. So I'm just listening for the sound of the bass coming in here. Yeah, so that's too loud for sure, and I want it to be more low passed. Let's go ahead and put a parametric EQ on this track, and let's go ahead and open that up and remove any super low frequencies beneath about 30 hertz, and also maybe a tiny little bit of those highs. Cool. We could bring this down in the mix now. Still want it more low passed, I think, like maybe quite a bit more. Yeah, maybe more like 45. Let me give a little bit of resonance. Let's start with like 10. Let's hear that in the mix. I'm trying to kind of tuck this bass line behind our drums. I'm going to give a little more cut off. I think I pulled it back too much. We'll go with 60. Let me hear that in context here. So this bass line here is a little brighter and more growly. Then we're going to tuck it back so we can add some more melodics. Yeah, it's really not tucking it back as much as I want still, so we're going to keep messing with that. I'm going to take my time today, and these little finesses are really what it's about when I've already got a skeleton that's a good 8 to 10 minutes. Now it's really about every step of the way taking my time and getting everything exactly where I want it to be. Cool. Maybe we need to filter that down just a tiny bit more. I really want it to make an audible difference, that the bass is like open here, and then we're going to close it down in the next section. Oh gosh. Exactly. That's better. All right, so we're going to tuck that back in the mix. Now, I'm a chronic oversaver, and we're going to be doing a lot of saving today as well. Oh, I see. I need to put it back on the hard drive. No worries. So sessions, and then this is drum and bass. No, this is old school. Yeah, okay, cool. I can just put, yeah. Are you sure you want to override it? Yes, I do. Now it's gonna save it back onto the hard drive and resave all those samples. That's odd. Wasn't expecting it to resave all of those samples. Oh well, it is what it is. All right, let me take a moment and check in with the chat and make sure that I'm not missing anything. Hey, what's happening, Steve? What's happening, Matt? Hey, what's happening, Tony? What's happening, Front 242 man? All right, cool. I'm not sure why this is resaving all of those samples. I'm just going to show you, but it's already done now. Just going to do a quick test and make sure if I save now, yeah, it's not saving all those samples. Okay, good deal. So we're officially, back on the hard drive after I told it to save on that external disk. Right on. So what we're going to do then is we're going to go ahead and try to get a melodic part out of one of these synths. I think we're going to start with the Raven today. I've already got that plugged in. And again, what we're going to be doing is we're just going to be randomizing some stuff on the Raven, which means, we may find something awesome that slots in right away, or we may kind of get stuck in a circle of, endless randomization where nothing works and nothing sounds cool. And then we'll move on to, a different idea. That's the beauty for me of writing this set right now, is that I'm not specifically trying to create my own sounds. I'm not trying to write my own parts. I'm just trying to enjoy the creative process and using these older tools. So what I need to do is I'm just going to start trying to record something out of the Raven first today. And I just need to tell the sampler that we're not resampling, that we're back to inputs 1 and 2. And now we should be able to hear, hopefully, the volume coming out of the Raven today. Yeah. And I can adjust these inputs, as necessary, so we can really hear what's coming out. Kind of an old Art of Noise type of sound coming out of it right now. So, right, if I stop, then we can't, okay. But what we could do, yeah, is I can, mute all of these tracks, and then we can kind of just hear, that old school sound coming out of the Raven. If you ever listened to Art of Noise in the 80s, boy, that's really, okay. That's not exactly the type of part that I'm looking for. I'm just going to randomize again. And it just spits out another random melodic part. That's not quite what I'm after, so let's try again. One thing I need to do here, hold the phone, let's exit on out of there, go back here, go back here, go here, and then I'm just trying to, this is a very old Raven, and the keys are a little bit screwy. There we go. Actually, this was a lowball eBay bid of like $200 a couple of years ago. It's in pretty bad shape. It's not the max version. It's got like a broken key. There's no, covering on the screen, but it still works. So awesome, awesome find there. All right. It's kind of an interesting one. Again, not quite what I want. That's a great question. The force, I believe you probably could stretch a one shot, but to be honest with you, the time stretch algorithm in the force is terrible. It's just terrible. It is so bad. I don't ever use it. That's how bad it is. So for instance, our track right here, our mix that we're creating today is at 170 beats per minute. So I've gone through like my huge folder of drum and bass samples and pulled out a bunch of stuff that's already at 170 that we can maybe scroll through some samples with. We're certainly not going to be doing any time stretching in the force. If I absolutely have to time stretch something for a project with the force, I'll get that in Ableton, do the time stretching there, and render that back to audio and get that in the force. I know a lot of people don't want to hear that, but that's my honest opinion. The time stretching algorithm in the force is so bad that I just don't use it. That's kind of an interesting little retro thing right there. I'm not sure that I like the sound that it's using, but I like that kind of melodic pattern. Now, one of the reasons that I got the Raven so cheap is that, you know, one of the knobs doesn't work real well, which can make it a little bit difficult to scroll through these sounds. But let's see if maybe we can a little bit. I'm not really looking for anything in particular. I'm just seeing if anything, you know, like jumps out at us. Go ahead and keep trying some different stuff. See what I mean about all these different ideas, though, that we can get just by hitting random on the Raven? And pretty much deliciously 90s, you know? Oh, wait a minute. I like this one, actually. I feel like the panning is a little off, so I'm gonna see if I can find that. It's a little off, little pan to the right, so I'm gonna center that. I can get more level on it too. Oh yeah. I like this one because it's kind of a mid sound, still leaving, I think, some room in the frequency spectrum for us to be able to add more, you know, melodic content on top of this one. All right. Okay, I'm pretty happy with the way this is sounding. What I think we're going to do is maybe get a little bit less reverb on this sample baked in, because we've got our own in the session that we can use. I'm going to go ahead and hit ARM and launch and record this clip in. For those of you who might be new to my channel, I do everything manually. So here, this is all old school. Ooh, all right. That's a really nice 4-bar loop. Cool. We're going to go ahead and pause that. I'm not going to assign it to any pads at this time. And let's see. We need to give this a name. This is from the Raven. And I'm just going to call this like synth, I don't know, 33A. Okay, cool. And whoops, I don't want to edit. Rather, I wanted to keep. Did it do that? Sample, I mean, whoops. Menu, sampler. Yeah, okay, we're going to assume that it did. So now I want to edit it. And let's see, that was from the Raven. We got quite a bit of samples in the session. So sometimes it might be difficult to find what we need, but there it is, synth 33A. And we can go ahead and just zoom right in on that start point. All right, and get right in there and go ahead and trim that out. I'm going to give a little bit more volume on this sample by default as well. So we're going to go ahead and go over to gain change, cool. And then we're going to save at this time. It's going to embed that new recording into the session. Again, for those of you who might not be familiar with my channel, I'm a chronic oversaver. If anything happens, like say you have a tiny little power fluctuation in your place, right? And that's enough to maybe trip the power on whatever you're working with, and you've just been working for a couple hours. If you've ever lost a couple of hours of work, you know how frustrating that can be. And over the years, and I've been at this since the 90s, you know what I mean? I really hate to lose work and have to go back and try to remember what I did. So I am a chronic oversaver, and I encourage you all to be chronic oversavers as well. Okay, cool deal. Now we've got that sample, and we can go ahead and assign that to one of our tracks here. I've got a track for lead synth parts, you know. I've got a track for drums. I've got a track for bass. I've got a track for synth pads. I've got a track for synth leads. I've got a track for 303s and like more aggressive synth leads. I've got a track for drum loops. I've got a track for just random extras that don't fit in those categories, or maybe if I just need a little bit more on one scene. And then I've also got a track for effects. So again, each of these is just a drum machine, and I'm just loading samples onto the pads in that drum machine, and then we're sequencing those back using the force and using the effects in the force and all of that. So here we'll go ahead and assign that sample to this pad here. This is Raven. Scrolling through a lot of samples, as you can see here. Raven Synth 33A. Cool, there it is. Now what I want to do is I want to tell it, you know, not to play in its entirety every time I hit the pad, but just, you know, only when I hold the pad down. We also want to put an EQ on this sound. If I remember correctly, you know, every pad in this mix gets its own EQ. So literally, I have at least more than 100 of those parametric EQs in this session already. They're really low on CPU, and we can just, you know, keep using these. What I'm going to do is make sure there's no like super low frequencies on our synth coming through. I don't know, maybe beneath about 60 hertz. Maybe even a little more. We could probably go all the way up to 100 on this one. Cool. And then all we need to do now is put together a little clip where we can, you know, put this sound in. I'm going to go ahead and label this clip. We're going to call this like Raven. Whoops. Raven Blipper. Okay, cool. And now we can just go into where it needs to go, which pad is being triggered, and it's this one here. So I can just put a downbeat there, and I can extend that out for 4 bars because we sampled a 4-bar loop. I can go shift and duplicate that, and now it's going to hold down for the full 8 bars, and we can try to get it actually in the mix now for this clip here. Yeah, it's a bit loud and over the top right now. It has too much low frequency content on it still as well. So we're going to try to EQ some of that out. What am I doing wrong here? Hold the phone. I know what I'm doing wrong. Okay, I'm really glad this happened, and I'm glad it happened right away so that we could just address this at the beginning of the session. I'm sitting here like affecting the sound, putting all these things on it, and I'm like not hearing it change. And I'm like, what's going on? Like, why is this EQ not like working? It sounded better a minute ago. It seems kind of muddy and crappy. Did I sample it incorrectly? Like, what's going on? I'm thinking all these things as I'm trying to fix it right. What it is I've left the volume up on the Raven. So what we're hearing is we're hearing the sample being played back, but we're also hearing that original loop coming in at the same time. So I probably over EQ'd the hell out of it now. In fact, I have. So we'll go ahead and play it in the mix, and I'll fix that now at this time. All right, yeah, now it's all way back there. Cool, we can totally fix that. I just need to not EQ it quite so aggressively. Right, maybe, give it a little bit of our built-in reverb and delay from the first session here. Just a little, so that we're getting it kind of in the same acoustic space as the rest of our sounds. Just a tiny little bit of that reverb and delay there. I still feel like it's a little bit muddy. So I'm going to try to EQ it a little more. I'm actually going to try to bring out some of the high frequency content of this one now. Just a little. And I think what we'll do is maybe try to put some distortion or decimation or some sort of like effect on here that might grit the sound up a little bit. I've had some luck with some of the other sounds being run through, oh, what was it? Let's see if I can remember. I haven't worked on this for a few days. It was distortion grimy. I think I want to say it was that distortion grimy. Let's see what happens when we put that on our new lead sound and maybe mess with that a bit. Yeah, that's very interesting. So if I just put a little of that on here, but give it some more drive. That's not right. Maybe, is it more or less grime? Quite what I want, so let's try something else and see if we can get a little bit more. Whoops. Wow, that really changed it up a lot. That's the vintage hardware setting on the lo-fi effect. Okay, hold the phone. I kind of actually like this one. That's grimy. But what if we bring it down so it's a subtle? I'm still not really feeling like I'm getting enough of the high frequency content out of this that I would like to. But I kind of do like what this grit is doing here. Maybe just turn that down a bit more. And then maybe on the EQ here, maybe what I can do is then I can maybe add another EQ specifically for the purpose of bringing out some more of the high frequency content around 5K, I believe. So if we set the high mid to right about 5K, and then maybe a tiny little bit more tighter Q on that, and then bring this up a few. I hardly ever bring things up. I'm usually subtracting, frequencies. Whoops, come on. But you hear how this one is getting a lot cleaner now? I'm getting pretty aggressive with this boost here. We're at 5K, and I've now boosted 15 decibels. I mean, that's a really extreme boost. Okay, but for those, again, who aren't maybe familiar with my channel, what I do is I have a visualizer off the screen here, over here, if I can turn the camera a tiny bit, hopefully, over here in Ableton, so that I can, if I stop talking for a moment and just play the sample, gives me a really good, visual representation over here of the frequency content. And so I'm using that in the background on these live streams all the time so that I can, help the mix be where it should be when I'm on these headphones, because it's not always super easy for me to mix on headphones. And that really helped us bring out this sound. In fact, I want to bring out the high frequency content just a tiny bit more. And again, for those of you who watch my channel frequently, you might be really, like, what is he doing? Because I never do this. I never bring out more frequencies in a sound. I'm always carving stuff away. This one just really needed that little bit of extra EQ to help cut through the mix, I think. Yeah, absolutely. That's way better. And we've given it kind of this grinding, kind of over like distortion feel. I'm gonna just play this in the mix now and tweak the distortion and EQ settings and volume settings just a little bit to kind of get it right where we want it. I'm going to try this now, but we're going to try it in context. So what I'm going to do is just go a couple of, rows back, and then we're going to hear this sound coming in for the first time and try to judge if it's, working or if I need to mess with it a little more. Prison Prime. Oh gosh, Prison Prime. We're getting close, but it's still, I feel, is a little bit muddy sounding. So what I'd like to do is just do a little bit more EQ work on it. We're going to pull out some more low frequencies still. Now keep in mind that I'm able to, look off the screen here and sort of use these visualizers to kind of help make judgment calls on the EQ. I really find that helps, when working on headphones. Also, my ears are pretty old now, so to have the visual representation is a good thing to help me get those frequencies where I want them as well. So I can hear the sound getting brighter, but as I look at the spectrum here, it's not like we're pushing up that section of the frequency range, which is how I can kind of see and, judge how much I can get away with brightening up this sound. Because I want that grind of it, but I don't want it to conflict with the low end of the bass. We want it to be its own entity in the mix. We're almost there. I think. Maybe a little bit more of that lo-fi EQ. I mean, not EQ, but plug-in. Maybe even more. Okay, that is pretty filthy. Let me just hear that in context again.
Prison crime. Oh gosh, prison crime.
What do you guys think? Is that new sound loud enough? Are you able to hear that cutting through okay? Let's go back one more time and just sort of hear that come in again. I think we've got it seated now. I think I'm pretty happy with it.
Oh gosh, prison crime.
Yeah, I like the way that that's sounding. I think what we're going to do is go ahead and copy this row of clips down to the next row of clips so that maybe we can start working on like, building this up a little bit more. I'm always trying to see also, like if I can maybe bring some of the content from earlier in the set, now that, we're about 8 to 10 minutes worth of material, to see if I can bring some of the content from earlier, like back in, to help kind of keep the vibe sort of consistent, if that makes any sense. And what I think we'll do is see, like there's a synth pad part from the very beginning of this, and maybe we'll see if there's a way that that might sound good over the section that we've just created. I doubt that it will, but it's always fun to try. So we're going to go ahead and copy our first synth pad part, and we're going to bring that all the way down to where we're at now and paste that in and see if there's a pad maybe that might, slot in over what we've created. I doubt it will, but you never know, and sometimes you get lucky. It actually does fill out the frequency spectrum pretty nicely. Actually, fantastic. So this is the synth pad part that I've just added. And this is actually the synth pad part that opens the mix. So to get this back in at about, the halfway point or something, I think is a pretty cool thing. I think that sounds pretty good here. Yeah, I'm liking that. Well, in that case, we do have some existing, 303 synth lines from the beginning of the mix. They may be a little quiet now because this mix kind of got louder and more aggressive as it went on. But maybe we could grab some of those early 303s pattern and maybe reuse one of those at this time, because it's been quite a bit since we've played those, a good 4 to 5 minutes, I think, actually. Just listening to the different parts here of these 303s, I think I want to try to bring one of these down and just see what happens. It's been quite a ways, since we've had these 303s in the mix. There's a chance that we might get lucky here. We got lucky with the pad. Let's find out. Oh, that's a no. No worries. Okay, well, we were able to get lucky to bring that pad back in, and I'm really happy about that. So let me just take a look at the arrangement here a little bit. We've got 2 there, we've got 2 there, and then we bring the pad in, and when we've really gone not that far without a breakdown, so we don't want to create a breakdown next. I'm trying to think about what we want to do with this scene that we're in here. I'm considering these as scenes. If you've worked in Ableton, a scene is just like a collection of loops or a collection of clips. Um, I'm just going to take a look here at what we've got in the session already on our extras track. Cool loop there.
Oh gosh.
Some of those vocals.
Prison Prime.
Joe Rasta. Listen them, yeah, you.
I'm kind of curious here. Actually play it full, okay.
Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
I haven't gotten
Let's
this
go.
vocal sample into the mix yet, and I've been, kind of excited
go.
to do that. It's just a sample from a YouTuber friend of mine, Matthew Stratton. I think we'll might be able to get this one in at the end of this scene here. Maybe if I give it a little bit of the reverb and delay.
Let's go.
Just to kind of get it in the same acoustic space as the rest of our sounds. And then maybe we put an EQ on this one because it doesn't have one already. We're going to pull all the low frequencies out beneath about, I don't know, 200 or 300.
Let's go. Let's go.
Yeah, so there's nothing down there that could possibly like conflict with our bass or our kick drum. Now let's put some delay on that. That'll kind of be like a dub vibe because you guys know I love the dub. What we're going to do is put the delay analog on this.
Let's
here.
go.
And I've got a preset that I made, which is just like a dub, delay preset for this at our tempo. It sounds pretty good. And if we put it on this vocal,
Let's go. 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 Go.
right? Maybe a little bit too much feedback on that. Let's play the clip here.
Let's go. 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 Go.
Yeah, right at the end.
Let's go. 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 Let's go. 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 Go, 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 go. Let's go, 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 go. Let's go, 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 go.
Cool. That gives us like a cool little vocal turnaround, which just sort of helps push that groove forward a little bit. And what I think we'll do is only put that in the second time because we already just had a little bit of vocals coming through with the oh gosh Prison Prime. So here we'll take a little bit of a break, and then at the end of this, second new sort of section, we'll put that vocal sample for just a little bit of a turnaround. And again, we don't want to break it down yet, so I'm trying to think now of how we can add more to this, really.
Let's go, 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 go.
I think what I'm going to try to do, it's safe here, I think what I'm going to try to do, we're sort of in a halftime groove at this point. I'd like to see if we can get back to like a full tempo groove. So using the let's go as like a kickoff to push into like a full tempo beat. So to accomplish that, I think what we need to do is go ahead and copy this scene down one more time to a new section. And this would be like the first of two then. And let's see here. We were going to delete the vocal sample from this one. And what what I want to do is I want to try to create the drums not being halftime. Okay, so let's see here. I believe it's going to be this drum loop is what it's going to be, right? Which one is that? It's this one here. Okay, so here's our drums. Okay. Now, what I would like to do is I would like to go ahead and just copy this out a few times. Let's go copy. Let's go 1, 2, 3. So that we've got 3 different variations of that now. Now, this is one of the things I really love about the Force is that if you're not worried about writing in step mode or whatever, you can just put the samples anywhere on these pads that you want to. It gives you quite a bit of places, to put your sounds. So it's really easy to just, grab something, copy it, and make a variation of that. What I want to do, let's see here. I want to separate basically the sounds on these 3 pads. So let's see here. I can zoom, right? Cool. And then I can get rid of that endpoint. I can get rid of that second hi-hat. So it's just the kick drum here. We're getting a little bit of a click. I may need to do this a little bit differently. Yeah, I am, because I would really rather have 0 click here. So I was trying to do it the easy way, where we could just copy the sample over and then change the start and the end point, but that's not going to be quite as easy as that. So we're going to do it a different way by just duplicating the samples and editing them out individually. It's 170 drum loop 08. So if I go back into the sample edit, 170 drum loop 08. Cool. What I need to do is I need to copy this a few times. So we're going to go copy to it, to SP1, then to SP2, and then to SP3. Fantastic. Now I've got 3 different and extra versions of that loop that don't affect the main loop. So in the sample editor, I can edit these samples, and trim them out and do fade outs and all of that kind of stuff. In fact, I see there's a little tiny bit of air at the beginning of that sample, and I would like there to be none. So I'm going to zoom in and even trim that tiny little bit of air off the beginning of that sound. And let's see here, we're going to go to the end now and do a little bit of a fade out, get rid of any clicks that may be coming through in that sound. In fact, we'll do it twice, and we'll hear this kick now. Okay, cool, there's just the kick. Now we need to get just the snare drum. So let's go ahead and do that. Process and discard. Get right in here on the beginning of this sound. Whoops. Come on. There we go. Right, and I think right about, come on, I think right about there it looks good. Process and discard. Do it. Cool. Now we can, wait a minute, am I getting the same thing? I am getting the same thing, aren't I? Yeah, whoops. So undo. Oh, for Pete's sake. Just trying to undo until I get that back, but it doesn't matter. We can just copy the sample again. So process, and here we go. We're going to make this SP4, because I messed that up or whatever. So SP1 is our kick drum. SP2 is our kick drum again because I screwed that up. So we're just going to delete that. And then, whoops, it was 170. Okay, cool. So SP3 is now going to be our snare. Let me make sure I get the right one. I'm not. Okay, so it's that next one. Yeah, okay, cool. Let's start getting that. Discard. Do it. Cool. And get right in on that snare. And trim that out. Cool. Now we can trim, not trim rather, but do a little bit of a fade out on the end of that so that there's no possible clicks or pops happening at the end of our snare. Cool. Now we've got that. And then we just go over to the next one and we trim out the hi-hat. This looks like a clean one right there in the middle. This is just going to give me those sounds individually now from the drum loop, so I can program our own beat out of these not in real time, rather, but at full tempo instead of half tempo that the original drum loop was. Okay. So now I've got all of these sounds. We can actually probably trim some of that off the end of this one, process, discard, and then go ahead and do a fade out on the end of that one as well. And then we can probably bring the level up on this sample real quick. Gain change, just bring it up a little bit more. Cool. So now I've got these individual actual hits, and if I go into the edit sample page, I can change what sounds are actually on these pads. Kind of thing. Not quite sure that's looping. Don't loop. Don't loop. Cool. And now let's go ahead and save, and it's going to, save those sounds in the session. I'm just going to take 1 second and check in with the chat, make sure that I'm not missing any questions. Hey, what's happening, Audible Video? Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you being here. All right, so we've saved now. Cool. What we can do is, let's see here, on the scene that we're on here, we can go ahead and delete this drum loop now. Okay, it's that one there. And then we can put a new clip in, and I can literally just label this one as the full speed drums. So we know that they changed to full speed drums at this point. And then here, what I'm going to need to do is like play something in. So let's see here. Are these, I see what the deal is. These are on the mode where it doesn't play the whole sample. And for these, I really like it to play the entire sample. That's much better. Oh, yeah. Kind of deal. All right, so now I can go ahead and play something in. I'll put in like a kick and a snare pattern, and then we'll go back and put in like some hi-hats or whatever. So let's see, I just need to make sure that, what is that, track 6 is record armed, and it is. If I hit record, I can just kind of solo this track and hear the part here. Looks like our hi-hats are a little bit too aggressive and a little too loud per se. Also have too much high frequency content coming through on these hi-hats. So we're going to adjust that as well. Removing some of this high frequency content from the hi-hats only. Oh, that's much better. Okay, what I'm doing is I'm using a 6 decibels per octave high cut, and I'm scrolling that quite a bit down now. So we're reducing 6 decibels per octave all the way down to like 9K of those hi-hats. So it's really too much highs on those hi-hats. And that's got it a lot more in line. I think I'm going to go ahead and just pull a tiny bit more off of those highs from the hi-hat. That's sounding better. Okay, so what we've got is we've still got a couple of halftime drums that are happening on our drum one-shot channel, which is like, got a bunch of drum one-shots on it. And what I'd like to do is go ahead and delete this clip now so that we don't have halftime drums playing at the same time as our, full speed drums. Now maybe it might be cool if I layer some of these drum sounds with it, maybe. We've got a clap here and another snare here. So maybe just to layer these two. These are from, you know, earlier in our mix. Yeah, I think what we're going to do is put that in real quick just to kind of emphasize, you know, the change in tempo here. And what we'll do is go ahead and label this clip as well. This is full speed drums. Cool. And I just need to make sure that this track is record armed, and it is. So if I just play the groove, hit record. Now, there's a couple of parts that I programmed with our other snare where the snare isn't exactly on the downbeat. And what we're going to do is we're going to try to find those sections and put this new clap and snare layer on that other snare. Looks like there's one right at the beginning. Right here. Fine. Yeah, this one needs to move as well. Is it here? I think it's there. I think that's sounding pretty good. We might just want to bring these down in the mix a tiny little bit for this section because they're a little loud. So if I just highlight all of these and go to velocity, I can just bring these all down to maybe 110 instead of 127. Yeah, that's better. And what let's do then is let's go ahead and go back to the matrix here. Let's go back a couple of scenes and just sort of hear this in context so that I can hear the flow of this section here. This is a lot of how I'm working now that we're like, you know, so far into the set. Let me go back before that comes in originally, actually. Yeah.
Prison Prime.
Hey, thanks, Audible Video. I appreciate that.
Oh gosh. Prison Prime. Prison Prime. Oh gosh. Prison Prime.
We're going to need a little bit of work on this transition here.
Let's go, 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 go.
Because there's not necessarily much that's separating these two transitions. And when we get the let's go vocal sample, it should kind of feel like we're, you know, changing a little bit. How we're going to accomplish that, I think, is just to put a little bit of a rest in the let's go, to have a little tiny bit more space for the listener's ears to clear before we sort of move into the faster section. So I'm just going to go into each of these tracks here and create a little rest at the end where that let's go is coming in. So, yeah, I just want to rest. Let's go, kind of thing. Okay, cool.
Let's go, 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 go.
getting there.
Let's go.
Okay, so we've got the drums going still.
Let's go.
Okay, we're getting there.
Let's go.
All right, now we're getting there. And let's go ahead and save since we've made all those variations. I think what we'll need to sort of help this is maybe a little bit of a riser sound, which will sort of build the momentum, and then we'll choke that right when the vocal sample says, let's go, so we can get a little bit more of like a stark transition, per se. I've got, let's see what we've got here. I've got a track full of effect sounds.
It's super cool.
Different risers, different, impact sounds. But here we've got a really big riser here. I think we'll go with this one for now. And we just need to find the pad that this is on. It's that one there. 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4. It's a 4-bar riser, that one there. So what I want to do then is put it on the downbeat of measure 5 of this pattern here. And we're going to have it go all the way to the beginning of measure 8 here, and then we'll pause with everything else. So we get the vocal sample still really clean on its own. But this will help build that tension to that vocal sample, hopefully. It's a little bit mellow of a riser. Let's layer it with another one. I'm sure I have some louder ones in this bank as well. I love the air horn, right? Yeah, here we go. This one is a really big riser. So let's layer it with this riser as well. So we get, a really big emphasis sort of on that. Something is about to change and the audience isn't taken by surprise. Okay, cool. Let's hear that again with the new riser being added. Yeah, you hear that momentum?
Let's go.
Cool, and then we go down to the next clip, which will be the double time clip.
Let's go.
Cool. I think what we're going to do is drop the synth lead for this part. Let's go ahead and delete that and see how that's going to work. But I'm also hearing maybe like a bass drop on the measure where the pause happens right before the vocal. Da-na-na-na-na-na-na, boom, kind of a thing. And I have one of those, if we can just find it. I believe it's right there, as a matter of fact. All right. And we can just put that directly in our clip here on measure 9. Measure 8 is what I meant to say there. And there we go. Edit the start. There we go. Edit the end. And just drop that as a little bit of a emphasis on that downbeat pause. We're ebbing and flowing.
Let's go.
It didn't put it in. Why not? Oh, maybe I put it on the wrong clip. Is that what I did there? Yeah, I put it on the wrong clip, and that's fine. We can fix that. Let's go ahead and highlight and delete that guy. And it needs to be on this clip instead, rather. Okay. Cool. All right. Whoops, I think I did that wrong again. Yeah, it's this clip here into the next one.
Let's go.
Yeah, I like that. And what I want to do, yeah, that's sounding really nice. Okay, and then we've got our maybe that, yeah, maybe this is time, I think, for a brand new sound. And so maybe we get rid of those synth pads at this time here. And then this is going to give us sort of a new palette to bring in, more new stuff. Let's hear this in its context, see how we're doing.
Let's go.
Yeah, what we'll do, I think, is we'll need to get like a really big crash on this measure here. Not measure, but on this set of clips so that it's a little bit more of an impact. And then we can sort of run this whole, set of clips here, I think, on its own for a full 8 bars, and then go into another section after that where we add another new sound. Maybe from like the Sirius or the Korg EMX this time. So we're about to actually try to randomize another new sound. I definitely, want this to be somewhat of a collaborative session with the chat. So if you guys have ideas along the way, please drop those in the chat and we'll see what we can do. Which of these two would you guys like to experiment with first today? The EMX or the quasi MIDI Sirius? Just drop an EMX or a Sirius in the chat and then we'll see, where we're going to go next in just a moment. Riser.
Let's go.
Yeah, okay, I got it, but the bass line is muddied now. Okay, and doesn't need to be pulled back anymore. So let's see here. We can bring, I think this is a great idea. I can bring that bass line from a few scenes ago back down, and it's kind of wide open again. That might be fun. Let's see here. If we grab, this one? It is. So now when he says, let's go, it opens that bass line back up again. That makes a lot more sense, I think. Yeah, and it stands up to these drums being, really, oh, we got 4 for the EMX. All right. How are you liking the tracker so far, Audible Video? I found out something about it just this week, and I actually kind of felt like a tool for not realizing it a long time ago because it really changes the workflow on that. I'm going to take just a really quick side quest and address something about the Polyend tracker, just so that you make sure that you know this. If you're slicing up loops and samples inside of the Polyend tracker, the manual suggests that to play back those individual chunks that you use an effects slot for slice number, okay? But that takes up one of your effects slots. So now if you want to lower the volume of a step and also do a roll on that step, you don't have enough effect slots. If you want to put a roll in, it has to be the full volume because you've already used that first effect slot for slice number. And that sucks. That's like a really big downer in the workflow, and I have a workaround. All you need to do is don't use the slice numbers. I don't even know why they put those in there. Somewhere along the way, they made the slices respond to note numbers. So you can slice up a sample, and then when you're putting in the notes, you just put in like C, C sharp, D, D sharp, and those notes change the slice numbers. You do not need to use up one of your effect slots to choose a slice number on a sample. You can just put it in via changing the note number. That still leaves you 2 effects columns, so you can bring the volume of those steps up and down, and you still have 1 more effects column to do things like rolls or panning or probability. Don't use those slice number effects. Anyway, sorry for those of you who aren't into the tracker, but that's a huge, huge game changer for the workflow, and I really wanted to share that with Audible Video. All right, fantastic. So what we've got then is we've got now sort of, if I copy that scene that we just, created, if I copy that down one more time, Then we can add a bit of a new melodic part to that. And we're going to try to grab something from the Korg EMX1 this time. Boy, that snare is really, really loud. Which one is the loudest one here? Is it the one from the drum loop or the one that we added? Because I think I'd like to bring that down just a tiny little bit. Let's find out. Is it this one? Yeah, it is that one. Yeah, I'm going to bring our snare down a little bit. Whoops. I also brought the pitch up 2 semitones. I think that sounds pretty good. I'm on headphones, so it could be a little bit off. I try to do the best I can on these, on the headphones, throughout these live streams, but then I definitely go back and I hear all this stuff on like different sets of, I got 2 different sets of monitors in here. That kind of changes, it opens my ears to what I'm, really hearing, if you get my drift. Writing on headphones is pretty difficult for me sometimes. Cool. Now we've got that snare tucked back in the mix, and we're going to go ahead and plug the EMX1 in at this time. Somebody suggested last week that I would do great with a like a patch bay in here, but I move stuff around so much that I really just don't see how that's going to help my workflow. They said, well, because you move stuff around so much, that's exactly why it's going to help your workflow. But the thing is that, it's not like every week we're recording into a box from a whole bunch of external gear. It changes, what I'm doing, like literally every week. And sort of plugging this stuff in and doing this part of the process is kind of sort of the, the fun hands-on bit for me as well, just moving the cables around and being creative. Okay. What we're going to do is I've got it set up currently so that when I press play on the Akai, all 4 of the other boxes just start going. The volumes are down on those, and what we're going to do is I've already got it. There's a whole bunch of drum and bass like built-in grooves to the Electribe EMX1. These are like really old, dated, like 96, 98, like whenever this thing came out. I want to say 98. I'm not exactly sure. And so that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to, celebrate the way that these boxes sound. We're not trying to write our own sounds. We're not trying to write our own patterns. We're trying to celebrate these sounds of the 90s that like really influenced where I come from with electronic music. So what I want to do is I just want to mute all of the parts of this pattern. And then I want to play the groove. And then I'm just going to kind of unmute some of these. And we're going to see if anything sort of slots in. The EMX1 is actually sort of like the catalyst for how this set came to be. I sort of realized, I had it out and was using it for the first time in a while, and I realized again, that sort of all of the patterns in the EMX1 are the factory patterns are all written in the key of C minor. So you can pretty much scroll back and forth between the patterns and kind of always sound in key. But there's like, 20 or 30 or 40, drum and bass style patterns, really retro in this box. And we're taking some of the elements out of those and trying to, bring new life to them while still celebrating that 90s sound. So all I need to do is go back to the menu and go to the sampler, make sure that we're set to input 1 and 2, and that we're set to listen to the clip. Now if I turn the volume up on the EMX1 and I start unmuting some tracks, we can start hearing some of these parts. And they may be cool, and they may be heinous, and like not at all like what we're looking for. Like this one here, in fact. There's not always a part on each, part. So as I unmute some of these, there doesn't always Well, that's an awesome effect riser sample. Let's record that in. Just gonna get a hot level on that and try to get an even level. We're gonna record that riser in. That's a great effect sound. All right, it's a nice stereo sound. Got a really interesting stereo field and pan built into the sound. We're just going to sample that right in. I'm just going to go ahead and hit record, and we're just going to launch it. And we're going to go ahead and make sure that it's not going to try to put that on a pad on its own. And I'm just going to call this, actually, let's call this EMX. And this is a, let's see, let's call this like a fizzle riser. Just trying to give it its own name because I have another riser already sampled out of the EMX for sure. And we'll just call this 1A for now. And we're going to go ahead and keep that. Then we can go into the menu and go to sample edit. Then we can track that down, just looking for EMX here. There we go. And then we just try to find that exact sound. Here's an epic riser, and here we have our fizzle riser from the EMX. You can see in the sample itself there that there's, you know, definitely some nice stereo qualities to the sample, which is always nice to have a little bit of movement built in the stereo field. I'm really happy with that down point. We're going to go ahead and chop it there. Whoops, I screwed up and changed the sample here. There we go. I think I want to just do a quick fade out at the end there. So there's no possible chance of like clicks or pops coming through in any way. We're going to go ahead and save the session at this time, and it's going to embed that sample into our session. Now I can tell the Force where I want to put that sample. Track 8 is my track for effects. Let's just pick a pad arbitrarily. How about this one here? Let's put it on there. So now I'm going to scroll over to EMX. And fizzle riser, and there we have it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it so it doesn't, you know, so it doesn't hold in its entirety, you know, every time I touch the pad, but we have to hold it to get it to play out. We're now going to go ahead and put an EQ on this, parametric EQ. And what we're going to do is go right in there, and we're going to remove any frequencies that may be hiding out under, oh, I don't know, maybe like 400 hertz. Fantastic. And we're going to go back to editing. We're going to go shift and we're going to go edit and hit that pad, you know. And we're going to put just a little bit of our built-in reverb and delay on that to get it into the same acoustic space as our other sounds. Yeah, I really like that's a big fat riser sound. Cool deal. We don't need to use that on this scene that we're in right now, if I'm not mistaken. This is right after the go. So we're just going to basically have this riser to put in the next time we need a riser. And so I'm going to make a note here. Add EMX fizzle riser. I'm still old school with the pen and paper, and you know that's how I do my notes. I tried to use Google Keep for the longest time, but man, pen and paper really just kind of gets me there. I am old school. Okay, fantastic. So we basically got another sound, but it's not exactly, you know, what we were hoping to find. We were hoping to find something melodic that we can use in this section. So let's go ahead and keep scrolling to find something like that. Okay, so nothing on the rest of those pads. I'm going to go to the next pattern, which is drum and bass, another drum and bass pattern in the EMX. And I'm going to mute all of the tracks again, and we're going to try to unmute some of these and see what comes out. Definitely some 90s stabs right there. Not quite what I want for this particular groove. A lot of exploding kick drum happening there. A little harsh, maybe. Interesting. Not quite gelling, I don't think. That's kind of a useful hit right there. Just that we could use that as a downbeat hit. Yeah. We're going to go ahead and just sample that in. I'm going to go ahead and just hit record. And we're going to launch it. I can see actually that I'm getting a little bit too much level on one of the sides there. So I'm going to go ahead and change a little bit of the settings and relaunch this. That's better. So that was basically just another kind of like riser sound. And we're not gonna, it wasn't exactly what we were after, but when you find a sound that works, I'll definitely sample it in, while we're here. And that's just another riser, EMX riser, and let's call that like a bunch of ones or something so that it has a different name than the other one. Now we'll just go into the menu real fast and go to sample edit so that we can go ahead and trim this out. Go ahead and just zoom in here, way into that downbeat. That looks pretty good. Maybe we'll bring the level up on this sample a tiny little bit as well. Maybe like 3. Cool, that's a really hot sample. Ooh, all right. And let's go into the end here, and let's do actually, I think we have a little bit too much air at the end of that. I want to make sure I have enough sample memory to continue sampling for the rest of the session. Got quite a ways to go here still. I believe, we're just about probably over 10 minutes at this point, so quite a ways to go still. I'm trying to get this set up to 20 minutes, so we're doing a fade out at the end of that riser, and we're just going to do a quick save, and it's going to embed that recording of that riser into the project. Now I can go ahead and just assign that riser to a pad. We can go edit and put the sample on here. This is the EMX, and it's like riser 111 or whatever, so we're just going to try to find that. There it is. What I'm going to do is we're going to go edit, and I'm just going to put an EQ on this really fast as a part of my default, and we're going to give this a little bit of the built-in reverb and delay, again, just as part of my default here. We're going to pan this a little bit to the left because I'm trying to pan the risers a little bit to the left and my impacts and crashes a little bit to the right, so we get a little bit of that stereo separation in the mix as well. So again, we got another cool sound. I'm going to make a note here to use that one as well. That was use EMX riser 1111 or whatever. Cool. So I just making a note so I don't forget that those are there and ready to be used. All right. What we're going to do then is we're going to go ahead and just play the clip some more and keep trying to find something melodic out of the EMX. Even though we haven't found like the perfect melodic part yet, I still think this is a total win because we just added, 2 more sounds to the session that we can use in future patterns. Okay, so I believe what we need to do then is go to the next one. Yeah, drum and bass pattern number 10. This is A63 in the EMX. And you'll notice that I'm not really unmuting the drums at this time because we already have plenty of drums in this part of the session. If I was trying to, come up with a new drum part, we definitely could try to sample some drums out of the EMX. And that's how the session started, actually, was using drums from the EMX. Cool. So let's keep looking for that melodic then. Whoa! that's a loud one. You never know, you know, what it's going to spit out or how it's going to gel or not gel with what you're creating. And that's the fun part for me. Nothing on this one. That's just noise. That's not like harmony or anything. And I kind of like trying to put, you know, nice content over a distorted bass like this. This string sound, though, it's a little harsh. I do like it. It's not quite there, maybe. I don't think there's anything on this last. Ooh, okay. So that one's not really what I'm after either. That's fine. Ooh, get a little click there. This is drum and bass pattern 11 here. It's pattern like A64 or something. And I'm just muting all the parts again. Now their first melodic part is typically a really aggressive, loud bass part, you know. And it's no different here. Boy, that is a really aggressive one. But it kind of works though, doesn't it? I could tame a little bit of that harsh frequency maybe. Hey, what's happening? Thanks for tuning in, DJQ. Yeah, see that tense violin that you just mentioned was sort of like that violin preset from the string preset from the last setting. I just think that was a little bit too harsh. Maybe strings and a filter. Yeah, your setup is begging for some boutique stuff. You mean the Roland boutiques? I can't quite decide if we want to go with this one or not. What do you guys think in the chat? Do you think this is the one, or should we keep scrolling? It's pretty good, but it's a little bit harsh. Like I said, I can probably tame that harshness in it. Do you guys like that one, or should I keep moving? What do you think? That's the one. Thanks, Megan. I appreciate that. Oh, whoops. Let me go into the sampler here and check the level on that. Actually, here's an interesting tip. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get, that I should have done this earlier as a matter of fact, I'm going to try to get the source material that I'm recording as loud as possible. So I'm going to turn up the Electribe to its full volume, and I'm going to turn down the input volumes on the Force accordingly. So I'm getting the purest and hottest signal that I can, so we don't need to like keep turning up the volume on a low sample inside of the Force, hopefully. And let's start checking this level out here. Yeah, now we can bring it up accordingly in the Force here. Okay, I'm liking the way that that's looking and sounding, so we're going to go ahead and just arm that for recording and record this in. Cool, and I'm just recording a 4-bar loop of that in rather than an 8-bar loop, so I can save a little bit of room on the hard drive here, because we got a long way to go in this set still. Okay, so this is EMX, and we're going to call this, let's see, I'm just going to actually call this what it is. This is A64 was the pattern name, and we're going to call this synth, 1A. I just want to make sure that all of my, names have a different, name so that we, don't have any issue of conflicting sample names or overriding samples. Now we can go back into that, into the sample edit menu, and let's see here, I called that EMX A something, A64, there it is. So now we just need to edit that out. Again, I do this all by hand so that I can get as close up to these, start points as I possibly can. I don't want, an extra few milliseconds from like, latency or something being involved. I do all of this stuff by hand. That's just my workflow. We are going to get a little bit more volume on that now that it's in here, and we're going to go, yeah, cool, that looks good. And I think I'm going to leave a little bit at the end, but we're going to maybe take some of that off. So process and discard, cool. Then we'll do a fade out at the end and make sure there's no clicks and pops at the end of that sample. Fade out, fantastic. Now that we've done that, I can shift and save, and it will embed that sample into the project. We can go back to the matrix, and I can figure out what track I actually want to put that on. It's a pretty aggressive sound, so I'm going to put that on the 303's channel. So here are those, the samples that are on here already. I'm just going to pick an empty slot, maybe this one here, and we're going to load it onto this pad here. Let's see here, EMX A64 or something or other. EMX A64, cool. And I'm just going to do what we do, tell it not to hold down in its entirety every time, we touch the note. I think we might need to get a little bit less volume on it now. And what I want to do is put an EQ on it. And what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to take a look now at like my visualizers over here so that I can really see the frequency spectrum of this sound. And then I'll see if I can't just tame it a little tiny bit. In fact, let me see if I can show you guys exactly what I'm doing for those of you who aren't really familiar with this, side of production. Okay, so I'm going to be quiet because my voice is, coming through on the visualizers, unfortunately. But if I just play the sound, the meat of those offensive frequencies are just under 2K. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the equalizer here. I'm going to remove anything, I don't know, beneath about 100. Cool. And then what we're going to do is just reduce some of these frequency content at about the 2K mark using a bell curve filter. Just tame that a little bit. Maybe a lot, actually. Cool. And what we're going to do then is go ahead and put this in on the clip. Let's see. It's this pad here. So here, there we go, cool. And put that on the downbeat. And this is a 4-bar loop, so we'll just have it hold for 4 bars and then shift and duplicate. Now I'm going to play the clip and we'll sort of adjust the, level of our new sound and try to get that in the mix a little. Oh, also, I want to, this is really important. This happened before, and I want to remember this time so it doesn't happen again. And that is, I need to remember in between each little recording tidbit here that I'll need to turn the volume down on whatever box we're recording out of, because it's still on, and when I press, play, it's playing here. So we'll be hearing it double. So now that we're not hearing it double, that immediately sounds a whole lot better in the mix. I think I want to do a little tiny bit of EQ on this sound still. Edit. And I think I want to bring out a little bit more low frequency content of it. I might put some distortion on that at some point, but I think we're going to just check it out as it is now by going ahead and playing a few scenes before that and seeing kind of how that sounds as it comes in,
go. Go, 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 go.
Yeah, I'm really liking the way that this is sounding. I think what I'd like to try to do, let's see here. I just want to bring the volume on this sound down a tiny little bit more. Maybe pan it like, I don't know, 6 to the left or something. So it's just a tiny little bit off of that, center spot. And what would be really cool, I think, is if we could get another drum loop to come in here, but a drum loop not to be the main focus, but just to provide some high energy momentum in like the top frequencies, because we definitely have some room, I think. Let's see here. Boy, this is good. I'm trying to think now if I want to see if maybe we could just bring in like an existing, because I have quite a few existing drum loops in here. We could always copy one to another pad, maybe make a adjustment on the way that it sounds and try to sneak it in. Or maybe even I'm overcomplicating it still. Maybe what we need is just like on track 1, which is like my individual drum sounds and stuff. I have a few loops in here already that I've sort of blended in as breaks or little tidbits here and there. I wonder if we could maybe squeeze in like a high pass filtered momentum type of thing here. Now the frequency on that really conflicts with the frequency of our synth, I think. Yeah. All right. What I'm gonna do then is I'm gonna play the clip that we're on now, and we're gonna check out some drum loops on the hard drive real fast and just see if anything maybe just gels frequency-wise with the groove that's currently going. Like that freak break right there. Like maybe we could slot that in, if you get what I'm saying. Let's see about that. Let's grab it and load it onto this pad here. It's a pretty loud loop. Let's go in and make it so that it doesn't play in its entirety every time I hold it down. Let's go to the effects tab and let's put the parametric EQ on it. Let's bring that up and let's just remove some low frequency content so that we're not conflicting with the drums that are already going. Maybe try about 250. And maybe also bring some of these lows down as well. So we're sort of band passing it by removing some lows and some highs here. I think I want to bring it down a little tiny bit around 5K as well, just to sort of tame that frequency. Ooh, come on. And then, I don't know if we can get this in or not. Let's play around with it. I mean, it's pretty aggressive, but I kind of, like that. And back in the 90s, they definitely wouldn't think twice about layering a drum loop on top of another drum loop. We might not, really do that these days is the thing, but back in those 90s, it was kind of cavalier, Let's grab this and, what is this, a 2-bar loop? 4-bar loop. Yeah, a little freak at the end there. It's the freak break, it's labeled, and we're going to go ahead and just grab that and then shift and duplicate. Let's see if I can maybe tuck this back into the mix a little bit and get this to slot in this section. I don't know, it might be just too busy. Maybe we pan it. That helped a lot, actually. I don't know. I think we might have just seeded that in the mix. Let me show you guys what the frequency spectrum looks like so you can see what I'm seeing. I'm going to be quiet so you don't hear my voice. So as we're looking at, I'm talking now, so we're seeing my voice, but as we're looking at the mix play, you'll notice that we are really even in the tonal balance control. This is just sort of, Isotope's frequency spectrum visualizer for bass heavy music, and we're definitely making bass heavy music. This sort of just helps me not push too much low frequencies or too much high frequencies. And if we're looking at these and I'm not talking, our mix actually looks pretty darn good right here. I'd say we're pretty much in line right there. All right, let me turn the camera back around then, and let's go ahead and hear this in its context. Now, I'm going to go back. This is the tedious part of, writing long, stuff. But frankly, even if it was a short song, this is still, just that whole part of it, going back and making sure that, the transitions are working and pushing you into those new sections and not feeling jarring. Because this is such a long session and because I have so much, to go on it still, I'm not trying to get everything like 100% perfect before I move on, just so that it, for the most part, flows. If the flow isn't working, then I'll just kind of work on that until it's at least flowing about 90% or whatever. Because if I don't get 20 minutes of the set done, then I don't have a set. But if I have a set where there's a few problems in the flow, that's fine. You know what I mean? The set is still done. So I'm trying to get to that 20-minute mark. And once I get there, then I can kind of go back and see like, okay, this particular, section here might need a little bit of touch up, that sort of stuff. But what so let's do is do that exact same, that exact thing. And let's go back a few scenes and check this out in context.
Prison Prime. Oh gosh, Prison Prime.
Kind of want to bring the pad up here.
Let's go. Go.
Gonna bring the melodic up because it's getting drowned out by that second drum loop, and we want it to be louder for sure. That's another thing that I wanted to get across as well, is I've just been loading up a ton of classic drum breaks in this as well, and I haven't been trying to like remix them and chop them up and create a whole bunch of new versions of stuff. Again, with this specific set, what I'm really trying to do is just exploit this 90s sound, is to have stuff that people are going to recognize and like bring them back to those old days of the 90s and, rocking out with these kind of samples. Anyone who's had an EMX for any amount of time is probably going to hear some stuff in this set where they're like, oh, wait a minute, I remember that, you know what I mean? And I'm trying to build like a level of familiarity into this with that old school vibe. Cool. Did I save recently? I probably did. But let's do it again. Fantastic. So we've, not really gotten a lot actually done. It's pretty tedious to get the pieces and just work on the little sections. at this point, you know, because I'm not trying to like drive home the point of a song per se. We're just trying to like jam as many cool things about 90s drum and bass as possible into like one 20-minute package. Let's see, how long have we been going? Ooh, just about 2 hours now. All right. So let's see here. I'm trying to. It sometimes it's difficult to kind of manage the arrangement. When we are in real time on these live streams. But I'm pretty happy with what we've done so far today. And where would we go from here? Let's see, the one before it brings in our full-time beat for the first time. Yeah, so we're back into full-time for these two. And then we bring in our big lead. And we brought in that synth. Okay, so maybe what we'll do is copy down that row. But maybe what we'll do here is sort of start trying to transition out of this section. And maybe we could, it's the transitions that really, I think, are the most, you know, time consuming, you know, because we have to do a lot of sculpting on those to get them to flow right. But maybe what we could do would be to copy our bass resample that we had turned to a low pass and put that down here and get rid of our aggressive synthesizer part that we have in. Oh, excuse me. And then maybe what we could do would be to, you know, leave room to bring in like another type of sound and sort of go off and change this bass soon, hopefully, because the bass hasn't really changed up in quite some time. We've changed our drums and like the drum loops and some of the accent patterns, and we've changed our melodic stuff and brought some vocals in and out, but the bass has been the same kind of this whole section here. So if we go from this with that big lead, sort of now we've opened it up. And I wonder if we could, right off the jump, I wonder if we could bring that pad back in that we just had in a moment ago. Sounds like that's a yes. I mean, I guess it would have been a yes because that's sort of the same clip as above. Let me save at this time and let me think about this here. I think maybe what we want to do is, hold on, let me hear this. Yeah, maybe what we want to do is not bring in this synth pad. Maybe delete that, but maybe try to bring in something new from like the quasi midi Sirius. There's quite a lot of like interesting melodic content in this one. There's interesting melodic content in all of the quasi midi stuff, really. Hey, OP, do you need to go outside? Hang on one sec, buddy. But because they came out in different, you know, years, you get that tiny little bit of, you know, style variation in the patterns that are sort of in these three boxes as like the 90s were starting to shift through electronica. I'm going to go ahead and let my dog out real fast. All right, sorry about that, and thanks for your patience, everyone. Let's see here. So we're going to try to get something in from the quasi midi Sirius. So I'm going to go ahead and unplug the EMX at this time. And we are going to plug in the quasi midi Sirius. All right. Sorry about the little clacks there. Okay, and if I just play our clip now, I'm definitely going to have to kind of turn my back to the camera. It's not really set up for me to keep, you know, talking forward because we're sort of over here. But what I need to do is I need to mute all of these parts, just like we did on the EMX. And I can play our clip. I can turn the volume up on the Sirius, and I can unmute something. What's interesting is that this first synth line that it's playing, I'm like, ooh, wait a minute, I like that. And the thing is I think we already have that exact synth line recorded into the fourth. Hey, what's happening, David? Yeah, many memories, right? I actually have the polymorph as well. I just haven't spent enough time with it yet. That one's really deep and a little bit harder for me to learn than some of these others. But I'm a quasi MIDI fanboy all the way. I also have the Quasar in the closet, and I have a Technox. But I got the Technox from Europe, and it needs a European power supply, and I'm still trying to sort that. Anyway, yeah, quasi MIDI. Okay, so I think I actually have that synth line recorded into the force already. It's this line here. We're hearing just the Sirius. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, so if I'm not mistaken, I have that in here already. And that's sounding actually kind of good is the thing. So let's see here. Is it on? Turn these down. No, it's not on those. Is it on one of these? Do I have it? There's one more where it could be. Is it on one of these? A lot of cool sounds in here. Some really distorted stuff. Okay. I really did think that I have. Maybe it's on extras.
Step up that dip.
Oh God.
Let's go.
I want to shoot.
Okay. Just one more place to check before we sample it in, if I'm going to do that, and that is in the sample edit window. This is from the Sirius, so I might be able to find it here, and this maybe just not assigned to a pad yet. It's not that one, but there it is. I knew I had it in here somewhere already, so we could assign that to a pad. That's that's Sirius. Let me change the camera angles here. Cool. That's Sirius B42 lead. So if I go back to Matrix and I go back to lead synths, I can sort of put that on this channel here. We could put that on a pad here, and that was Sirius. P40. Yeah, that one there. So I know we didn't actually record that out of the Sirius just now, but it ended up being something that I had already recorded out of the Sirius. I don't know. Let's see if we can get this in. I really like that, the way that sounds. Let's tell it not to play in its entirety every time I hit the sample, right? And let's put an EQ on this. We're going to go ahead and put the air parametric EQ, and let's just sort of shave off any super low frequency content here beneath about, oh, I don't know, about 100 hertz to start with, maybe. And let's just go to the clip and see which pad is that. This one here. Cool. Let's put this in, and I think, let's see, is this a 4-bar or an 8-bar? I have it recorded as a full 8-bar loop, so we're going to see if that gels or if it slots in here for us. Let's see about playing this, and I'll adjust some levels as we need to. Sure that's working. Let's find out. Maybe I can remove some more low frequencies from it. If not, we may need to find something else. I can't decide if it's like too much or not. Oh, I see. We're still. That happened again. So I just want to keep pointing that out when that happens, you know, so you guys can see like the workflow. So I left the volume up on the Sirius is the thing. So when I'm pressing play, we were hearing that part play twice is the thing. So now that's, you know, back to normal, and I can, you know, we can hear this in context. I'm just going to go back a few scenes, you know, and we're going to hear this in full context.
Prison Prime. Oh gosh, Prison Prime. Prison Prime. Oh gosh, Prison Prime. Let's go. Go, 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 go.
Oops. I think it's working. What I think we might need to do is just create a little bit of like a rest on the bar before that new synth lead comes in. Oh yeah, now we're getting there. Okay, what I want to do, I just want to take that last little vocal out of the drum loop on that break. So what is that? On this one? No, on this one, yeah. So is it here? Let's find it. Okay, let's see here. Where's my drum loop? Is it, wait, did we put that on this one rather? Where, I need... Yeah, it's on that one. So rather what I want to do is on this clip here, we just need, where is it? Where is that at? There it is. It's just hiding out up here. No worries. Okay, cool. I just want to take that tiny little bit off the end. I'm not sure how much. I think it just might be a tiny, like half a bar. It's actually right there. Exactly. Okay, so there's that. This is all about the ebb and the flow, and those transitions, boy, they take a lot of time. So just those tiny little subtleties. All we did was make a tiny, tiny little bit of a rest and remove the last little freak off the end of the drum loop, and I think it creates enough space in that transition to really make room for the listener to understand that something is about to happen. I'm going to go ahead and go back a few scenes, and we're going to hear that again.
Let's go. 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 Go.
Okay, we can definitely copy this bar down, the scene down now, to the next section. This officially is clip 50. We've hit 50 clips in this set already. 50 different 8-bar scenes. 50, wow. Okay, what I want to do is, let's see, we've had on our crash track, we've had the exact same impact now for quite a few scenes. So we definitely want to vary that up a little bit. I've got a few different variations here, and I've been, labeling those. So I've got one with just a Zildjian crash cymbal there, for example. Let's bring that down to the clip that we're working on here so we can get a variation on that. Yeah, just a big old crash there. That might be like way too loud. I'm gonna have to go back and adjust some of these levels still. So like if some of these effect sounds are like way too loud, I'll have to try to find those and whatnot. I feel like some of these are a little bit uneven as we, progress through. But that's sort of, the difficulty in doing such a long set as this. Yeah, definitely like that big crash there now. Okay, and so, cool. So then down here, I think what we need is some sort. I can't decide if I want the lead synth to play again here. I think we do. And I wonder if we can get away with changing up this sort of tension in this section by deleting the bass. That's going to be an interesting try. That probably won't work, but on the off chance that it does, that'll give me something new to sort of play around with. Let's see what happens. I see. If I drop that lead, now, okay, I think I'm getting a little bit off on my conceptuality of the arrangement here. Let me go back a little bit. Yes, okay, there is there. So, we have that, and then so I think it's going to be okay, maybe, if we get rid of this one already and just break it. Let's find out. Yeah, okay. This is definitely sort of working. We're lifting up, the sort of momentum by removing that low frequency driving bass, but it takes away too much momentum. So I think what we have here is a couple of options. The options might be playing some of our bass or potentially bringing in just some new bass so that it doesn't feel like we've lifted up too much. Let's see here. Right. It's this bass line here. Okay, and there's nothing next to it. Awesome. What let's do is then, because I feel like we're taking too much away if we just drop all the bass, but it'd be awesome if we could create, sort of help this section here, lift our focus off of the bass so we can go into a new bass in just a moment. You can see we've got quite a bit of different, basses here as we go through all of these patterns. What I can do is I can just copy this to a new pad. And then if we go edit, I can probably get it just to hit one note. Actually, it's bass resample 11A. Let's do this the easy way. Let's go back to the menu, and I'm just going to copy that. Sample edit, bass resample 11A, process, and I just want to copy to a new sample. So bass resample 11A1. Let's say bass sample 11A2 might be a little more appropriate there, and go do it. Then I'm just going to take off these hits here. I'm just going to try to get one nice thick bass hit of our downbeat. So we're going to go ahead and go discard. We're going to get right in on that first. You can see where it actually starts changing there. So I'm going to just get this first note, right? We've got a little bit of a click at the end. So I'm going to zoom into that very end, and I'm going to go fade out, maybe twice. Now what we've got here is we've got a bass just on its own. Cool. And if I go to edit, we can make it so that it does play on its entirety every time I hit that note. And we might actually want to make a new bass line out of this. So what I'm going to do is copy it from this big filled in section of my, pad, to a whole new section over here so that I've got some room to, continue copying it and maybe change the pitch of it if we need to create a new bass line for this part. I've done a little bit of a save there, and let's see here. It's this clip here. Yeah, I'm just going to put in a really simple bass line, and we're going to see if this will be enough to get us through that transition and help us start pushing off into another section where we can eliminate the bass with it, by bringing in another bass. All right, so I'm just gonna we're gonna label this clip actually here. We're gonna call this we're gonna call this bass variation. So I know there's a variation of what's happening starting here. Cool. And let's just save before I start trying to put this in. Cool. I'm just gonna launch this, and we're already on record. Yeah, cool. All right, I'm going to go ahead and go into recording mode here. I hit one note wrong there at the end, but that's okay. We can just get rid of that real fast. All right, grab that and delete it. It's just a really, really simple little bass line here. Just really simple so that it allows the drums to now really stand out in this section here. Sort of like, let's emphasize the drums for a moment. Since for the most part, I've been emphasizing the drums and like the melodic content through this set. I'm just going to go a couple of scenes back so that we can hear the transition into the more minimal bass pattern and make sure that it's working. Definitely need to adjust a few levels still maybe. Wait a minute, our bass took off there, and I don't want it to. What did I do wrong? That's supposed to be the bass low pass resample, so I've somehow screwed that, but I can just fix that by going copy and paste, right? Whoa. Okay, what have I done wrong here? Something's not quite right, and I'm going to try to figure this out. Oh, okay. This is easy to fix. We have the wrong sample. I've trimmed out the wrong sample. I've trimmed out 11A instead of 11A2. So if I put 11A2 back there, that should fix that for us, right? Yeah, cool. And let's see. Boy, that could have been a difficult one to sort through. I'm glad it wasn't. Whew. Yeah, cool. Oh my gosh, all right.
Let's go. Go.
I feel like that snare is too loud. Yeah, that's working. Just something else needs to happen here as well, melodically. And so, I'm wondering, um, okay, there's a cool thing we can do there from the existing synth line. So if I just hit launch and record, yeah, I like that. So let me see if I can copy that to the second half of the clip then. And let's see here. It's, where is that? Did it not? I want that one to be longer. Not quite. Almost. Okay, we could probably get something else in on that last bar. Not sure where I want to put it. Maybe there. I don't know. Yeah, that is where I want it. I just want it a little longer. Whoops. Yeah. Maybe, there. Yeah, perfect. And I want to get rid of the second freak on here again from that drum loop. So it's, what is it, way up here, right? Yeah, and we can just sort of get rid of that, whoops, that last little freak if we go maybe like there. Freak! Yep, that's what I'm talking about. Let's save. All right, so let's kind of recap what we've done so far. Basically, we've added what I think about 4 or 5 scenes onto my arrangement here. Yeah, that's not bad for a couple hours worth of work. What I think I'd like to do, we've been going for just about 2.5 hours. I think I'd like to go ahead and just time the set out so that I can see where I'm at now. I'm hoping that we're over 10 minutes. That would certainly be awesome if we were. Looks like I don't have my phone actually turned on, so we'll do that. Do you need to go back outside, Opie? Looks like Opie needs to go back outside, so we'll let him out real quick. Okay, yeah, so let's see here. This is what, muted? That shouldn't be. All right, let's save with that not muted, shall we? Cool. All right, let's go ahead and see how long this is in its entirety. It should be, hopefully, over 10 minutes now. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me on these live streams. This is just a casual stream. Again, most people don't take like the time to kind of reveal what they're working on when they're working on a set. But that's exactly why, I thought it might be fun to do this live in real time. Hey, what's happening, Tapsy? What's happening, Ionica? I really appreciate you guys tuning in. Cool deal. Thanks for being here. All right, so we're just going to check this out in its entirety so I can kind of get a feel for where we're up to. And sort of like how much we've gotten done today. Sometimes it's really difficult for me on these live streams to work on the arrangement, you know what I mean? Because it's hard to sort of keep like a global picture of the project in mind, to know, exactly where we're at in the flow or whatnot. But with this one, again, I really wanted it to feel more like a DJ set where someone's just being creative and mixing in a whole bunch of like 90s vibes. We're not like trying to make a track. This is just like a freestyle 1990s, hopefully style drum and bass vibe. All right, so let's do this. From the beginning, from the top. Love these chords here. On the upbeat, that old kind of reggae vibe. And just as soon as that vibe comes, it's gone, We're just moving, the whole time. all about that ebb and flow. So we're kind of bringing you down here. So 3 minutes before I was able to fully break it down. That's pretty good. And then we push off again with that new idea. Just trying to keep the listeners interested the whole time.
It's super cool. It's super cool. It's super cool.
So another minute and we're off into another idea.
Step up at the place, you know we hot like fire. Some of them are top, but them hot like pepper. We blaze it, bring the lava. Them a try this, the father. Listen them ya you with the Zaya. Girl come away because them want this harder. Them know the demon are the best welder. So show your lion power if you watch your rasta. Show rasta.
Yet another minute and we're off into another direction. Oh, I hit it wrong, but that's okay. It's just a couple of seconds difference. Here comes my favorite section so far. That bass is so deep. That would just distort the hell out of it. And get off into another direction again. Almost 6 minutes here. Stab action, that liquid drum and bass vibe. Love that. But we don't stay here too long. In fact, we're about to take a side quest right now.
It's super cool.
We're sort of off in another direction.
Step up at the place, you know we hot like fire. Some of them are top, but them hot like pepper. We blaze it, bring the lava. Them a try this, the father. Listen them ya you with the Zaya. Girl come away because them want this harder. Them know the demon are the best welder. So show your lion power if you watch your rasta. Rasta. Joe Rasta.
Oh gosh. Prison Prime. Prison Prime. Oh gosh. Prison Prime. Prison Prime. Oh gosh. Prison Prime.
I think I need to bring that lead up.
Let's go. Go.
Hey, what's happening, Arthur? Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, I felt like that should be going twice, which is why I let it go twice. Man, we're not even up to 10 minutes yet. Oh my gosh, all those scenes, all those changes. Oh, um, let me go ahead and just copy this down real fast. I just want to copy this scene here and then this scene here so that this goes twice. Yeah, I'm just going to have that scene play twice. All right, well, we did not quite get up to 10 minutes today. It's been almost, what is this, about 2:45 we've been going? Yeah, about 2 hours and 45 minutes. We're going to go ahead and wrap it up and call it for this week. But I really appreciate you guys hanging out with me on these live streams. And for those of you who made suggestions or helped out at all in the chat, thank you very much for that as well. So it looks like I've got, quite a bit of work ahead of me still on this live set. I'm definitely like somewhere between like 30 and 40 hours of work on it currently. And it's just about halfway, so you can guesstimate just about how much time I've got left to go. Luckily, I've got the full month of December. This isn't going to be, I'm on day 7 of this 7-day festival. Again, if you missed the beginning, this set is for a 7-day online music festival put on by my friend Mark the Acid Clown Gardner. And this is Clown Fest 7, the 7th version of the Clown Fest online music festival. So it's going to be a 7-day online music festival this year, starting, if I'm not mistaken, on December 26th or December 24th. It's kind of like right over that Christmas break. So if you don't have anything going on Christmas, there's going to be 7 days of like awesome music, Clown Fest 7. Again, there'll be more information. I'll have more information on that as we get closer to it. But I think we are going to go ahead and wrap it up today. Gosh, I was hoping we'd get over 10 minutes today. But maybe this week sometime. Also, I just want to announce that I'm doing a special live stream tomorrow. If you're into Eurorack at all, we're going to be doing a sound design, not a sound design, but we're just going to be like delving into the sound possibilities of the new Modbap modular Osiris module. I'm going to be, that module has a whole lot of patch points for modulation, and we're going to be modulating it with some new 1U modules from Mosaic 1U. It's like a random module and an LFO module that I've got to provide some cool modulation there. So definitely, if you're into like music geekery, this same time tomorrow at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, I'm going to be doing that live stream, and we're going to be checking out the way that new module sounds for the Eurorack. Cool deal. Let's make sure there's no last minute questions. Hey, what's happening, Stan? Thanks for tuning in. Hey, thanks, Patrick. I appreciate that. Thanks, Original Synth. All right. You guys think it's flowing okay? That's just it. You know, I definitely have a lot of work ahead of me, so I'm not 100% as concerned about the flow as I would be if it was an actual track that I was writing. You know what I mean? Where I've only got 5 or 6 minutes. I've got so much more to go that is like as long as it's for the most part flowing okay. I'm like, great, let's move forward. We got a long journey still. Cool. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and call it for this week, and until next time. Thanks for watching, and take care of each other, everyone. All right. Enjoy the rest of your day. Cool deal. All right. Thanks again.